What up, guys? It's been a really long time since my last video, but I have an interesting topic to talk about today, which not many other developers are talking about, at least not English-speaking developers. Today, I want to teach you how to make a WeChat mini-program. If you're not sure what a mini-program is, it's basically an app that lives inside WeChat, so users can use it without leaving WeChat or downloading anything. This platform is very quickly becoming more popular than the App Store in China. So if you want to make some software for China, it makes a lot of sense to do it as a mini-program instead of a traditional mobile app. If you want to learn a little bit more about what a mini-program is and why it might be interesting for you to make one, please check out the article that I've written. I've linked it in the description below. Now let's get started. So the first thing you gotta do is download the developer tools. They have it for Windows and Mac, and I'll include the link in the description as well, because if you just search WeChat developer tools, the first result you're gonna get is actually this broken link right here, and you don't want to fall into this trap. So just go in the link that I provide. Once you've got everything installed, you can open this up to create a new project. Make sure you have mini-program selected and press this plus button. So these are the basic information you need to fill out to create a new project. The first thing that you'll need to go through some Chinese to do is to get this app ID. So you need to register your app every time you make a new one, and this requires some personal information. You can Google Translate this. It's not too hard to figure out. Obviously, I don't want to fill out stuff like my email in front of you guys, so I'm just going to do this, and then we'll get back to you right after. After we got all the registration stuff done, you should be able to access the developer console on the website. And what you want to do is go to this development tab right here. First, make sure, of course, that you Google Translate the page. Now go to development settings, and right here you'll see the app ID. Notice that Google Translate just did really stupid thing where it just capitalized the M here. That'll actually make your app ID invalid, so you don't want to use that capital. So now, back here, put in your app ID, no capital, and use the mini-program cloud base. So this makes it really easy to set up a server, very similar to a Node server. You'll see in a bit. You can also use Tencent Cloud, which basically just means that you can connect it to your own server, and then also use no cloud service at all. This is how the IDE will look. Over here is the simulator, and you can change it between different phones. Very convenient and very fast as well. It has hot reloading. This is the project, your project files. One thing that is a little bit annoying is that there's not really a fast way to switch between files, and you also can't do multi-tab. So unfortunately, you'll be seeing me clicking through a lot, but I mean, that's not a huge deal. This is your code, and this is your debugger. Unfortunately, there is no breakpoint here, but you can view, inspect some app variables, and also the console, which you'll be using a lot since you don't have breakpoints. This screen you see right here is index.js. All the screens in a WeChat mini-program is called a page. So basically, it's kind of like, for example, the activity in Android. The reason why index.js is the starting screen is because if you go to app.json, you see all the pages here that were created by default, and index is the first one in the list. I want to first give you a quick overview of what we're going to be coding in this tutorial. We're basically going to be making a very bare bones, poor man's version of Reddit. Why? Because I'm always on Reddit. So it's going to be so simple. We're basically just going to let you make a post. You're also going to be able to view all the posts, and you're also going to be able to upvote and downvote. By doing these few things, you'll be able to learn the key functionality of a WeChat mini-program. In particular, you'll be able to create functions in the cloud, and you can also use your database, access it from the cloud functions. And finally, you'll learn how to do some front-end stuff, displaying the posts and getting some user info, like you see right here. The first thing I'm going to do is go into the index.wxml and delete some stuff that I don't need. WXML, very similar to HTML. There are a few differences. For example, you'll see that we're using this view tag instead of div, which you usually use. You actually can use div, but it's a bit redundant. You usually use view. And it's styled with WXSS, which is basically like CSS. Yeah, so I delete everything. I actually want to keep this just to demonstrate a point. Because this app lives inside WeChat, is the equivalent of implementing something like let's say Facebook login or Google login, except you don't have to implement it yourself. So this is super powerful because you just got all the user data for free, essentially. If you actually just installed this IDE, you might have to click this. This implements something so like you have to scan a QR code to authorize your account. But I do want to point out how like you get this information. So you see this this callback on load, so this gets called when the page loads, and it has this function get setting, and it wants to check that have we authorized the user info. So the first time you install this, it'll probably ask you to scan a QR code, but I've already done that. Once you've done that, then it does this wx.getUserInfo, and that's all you need. So this callback gives you the user info, and it's in this res.userinfo thing, and the avatar URL gives you the picture. You might be wondering why this isn't a picture of myself. That's a good question. Hopefully Noah doesn't mind. Now I want to show you how to create your own page and create a button on this homepage to lead to that new page. We're going to call our new page create post because it's going to let people create a post. And first you want to make a directory. This is important because otherwise if you just do new page, what will happen is that it'll just put all those files like the JS, JSON, WXML, WXSS into the top level folder. So this is very messy. So just make a directory. So create post, and then right click the directory and make a new page. And I'll call it the same thing. You'll see that if I go back to app.json, this was automatically put here. So it does some stuff nicely for you. Now I'm going to go back to the index.wxml, and I'm going to put a button here. And that button is going to bring me to that new page. So I'm going to put the text like create a new post. And then what you want to do is you need to bind this to some function in index.js. So what you do is you do bind tap equals, and then my new function is going to be called create post. When it initializes this page, it passes this object with a bunch of different parameters in it. So one of the parameters will just be your function. So I'm going to call this, like I previously wrote, create post. And to navigate to your new page, you use wx.navigate to. And then let's go back to app.json and copy this. But very important, make sure you put the slash in front. So now if you press this button, yeah, we go to our new page. So now let's put in a form into this page so that people can submit a post. So we're going to keep this as simple as possible. Okay, let's find our page. It is, again, it's kind of annoying that you cannot just do, like, for example, the double shift in web store. Okay, we don't need this. So a form, very similar to HTML form. One important difference is that instead of specifying an endpoint like you usually would in web development, you actually just bind this to the front end. So you use bind submit, kind of like how you bound that button earlier for creating a new post, and then we'll call this submit post. And we're going to keep this form super simple, so we just have an input for the content. The name is so that you can access it after you submit the post from your JavaScript, and then we'll put in a placeholder. And of course you need a button so you can submit the post. Do form type equals submit, some stuff. Hot reload, let's see how it looks. It's pretty good, or it's pretty terrible, but for this tutorial it is fine. So now we're going to go to createPost.js and create that submit post function. Again, you just pass in this function as a key in this object that you pass into the page initialization. And what we want this function to do is to call some sort of function on our server so that it saves that post that the user just created into a database. That's going to be very simple. We're going to create that function afterwards. But for now, I'll just show you how to call a function on our server. So unlike usual web development, you actually don't need to specify the endpoint. You can actually just specify the name of the function you just defined. So you do wx.cloud.call function, and then the name of the function. So we're going to call this save post, and then the data, or I'll call content. And then to access that input from the form, you do event.detail.value.the name of the input. And now you can handle success and failure. So it's very simple. Just add in the success key, get your result back from the cloud. And you can also do the failure case and the onComplete case. So fail Same thing. I'm actually not going to handle these for the purpose of simplicity in this tutorial, but that's how you do it. You can also be lazier. Just pass in console.error, and this will just log the error to the console. And then finally you have the complete. So the complete gets called regardless of whether or not this thing succeeded or failed. So it would look like this. Now on success, what we want to do is once again use wx.navigate. And we navigate to. The reason navigate to is because we want the initial page, this page, to reload again, because we're going to be displaying all the posts here. So we want that new post to be showing up in the list here. So let's go back to app.json. Find this again. Paste. Make sure you put this. How do we define this save post function on our server, and how do we get it to save to a database? So what's really nice about Cloud Function is it's basically like it makes it really easy to set up something like an endpoint in Node, except you don't have to manage all like the initialization or all like the state management of the server. It's basically all these independent functions, which are kind of like their own independent servers. All you have to do is define the function, and that's it. Or it's basically it. So you right-click this Cloud Functions and do new Node.js Cloud Function, and we call it save post, like we just called it. Alright, so how do we actually define this Cloud Function, and how do we get it to work with a database? So first, let me show you how to manage your database. Click this Cloud Base button at the top of your IDE. The first time you do it, you'll probably have to click some buttons, like say yes to some stuff. But eventually you'll get to this. This is the database, as usual. And it's a JSON database, so very easy to work with. Unfortunately, there's no thing that Chrome has that can just translate all this stuff, even though the IDE looks like it was built off of Chrome developer tools. But fortunately, you have icons and stuff, right? And you have this tutorial. Click this plus button to create a collection, and we call it posts. And now in this collection, you can put a bunch of JSON documents. So you can actually define the documents yourself in this editor, or not this editor, but this database client. And of course, you can also upload a file to do it much faster. But we're not going to do that. So we're going to save that post that the user just created in our app up into that database. So how do we do that? Well, first we need a reference to the database. As long as you've done this cloud init thing, you can get it. So const db equals cloud.database. Now to access the collection, you just do db.collection and the name. So we put in posts. Now we want add and some data. So all we have is the content, right? So content event.content. And then we just want to return that it was successful, so return await. So now we've got to upload this function to the cloud. For some reason, there's actually no way to run like a local host. So you have to actually upload these to the cloud, and your test app will still be hitting the Tencent clouds. So to do that, right-click, save post. I found that this IDE sometimes bugs out. So what happens is that it's not happening right now, but you'll right-click this, and then like it'll pop up and then suddenly disappear. So if you get that bug, there's several ways that I found you can fix it. One is you just exit the IDE and open it again. The other way is hold the right-click and then sort of drag it down. So I know that you can't see my mouse right now, but I'm holding the right click, and what that does is it forces this menu to stay open. So okay, upload and deploy. You can actually just deploy one at a time, so that's very convenient. And let's just wait a bit because this is gonna take a bit of time. Our save post has just been uploaded to the cloud. So let's see if it works. Create a new post. Hello world. Oh, okay. I got overexcited there. Okay, I didn't need to double tap. Let's delete this. So actually, this is very convenient because now I show you how to delete stuff. You can even edit stuff. So let's say blah blah, yeah, like this, and then double click to refresh. Oh yeah, there you go. It sometimes refreshes itself too. So now trash this. Okay, so now we have this saved in our database. So now let's create another function that retrieves all the posts in the database and then displays over here. on the front page. Again, new Node.js function, get posts. Alright, so we want the access variable to a database, so after cloud.init, cloud.database. Don't need this. Once again, our collection name is posts. So to get all of them, just do where, but pass in nothing into this filter call. So normally you can filter it. Here we just want everything, so where.get. Then, since this is defined as an async function, we can just do once again return await. Okay. Now we're going to upload and deploy. Let's call that getPost function from index.js right when it loads. And for now, let's just log it to see what happens. Once again, wx.cloud.call function, and the name was getPosts. We don't need to pass in any data, but we just want to see what happens when it's successful. Again, should handle failure case, but not going to do it. So in our console here, see cloud call function okay, that's good. See the results. Hello world, that looks right. And if we add another guy here, so create a new post. Cloud call function okay. Now we've got two stuff in the array. Data, hello world, and this garbage. Okay, for this tutorial, I might not have high standards for the design, but I'm not going to put in garbage text. So, you've seen it work. Let's get rid of this now. Now, instead of just logging it, we're actually going to display it in a list here. Index.wxml. We would like this to be scrollable because we don't know how many posts there will be. So instead of using view as the parent, you use scroll view. I'm going to teach you how to use some data binding here. So as you see, what we want here is inside a res.results.data. So in order to use data binding, use this.setData. Actually, you can see an example right here when they set the avatar URL for this .data set data. And then we call this posts res.results.data. Now inside the WXML, you can access the post like this. But we want to have a child inside this scroll view for every single post. So in order to do that, it's very simple. Use wx.for. Here's this. And then you need the quotes around this. For now, let's just write the content. So text. And to access an item inside post, literally just use item. This is a hard-coded variable. And the other one is index. So if you want the index that you're currently in, then you use that. So we're not gonna put in, we don't want this to print out. We want item.content to print out. There you go. And if I create a new post, got 2. Got 3. And let's check our database again, make sure everything's synced up. There you go. So we're going to make this a little bit fancier. We're going to have upvote and downvote and add a little bit of padding here. So I just pulled up Reddit here just to give you an example, or to show you what we want to make. It's going to be this up arrow, this down arrow, and this number of votes. And it's going to be to the left of the content over here. That's it. So we're going to have to restructure this a bit, and we're going to be using CSS Flexbox. So I'm not going to go into Flexbox too much. There's plenty of tutorials on that, but it works the same inside WeChat Mini-Program. How this is going to work, the outer Flexbox parent is going to be a row. So item 1 will be the upvote, downvote, and the numbers. And then item 2 will be the content here. And then the inner flex box for the upvotes and downvotes will be a column because the arrows are on top of each other. In order to do that, we need to have this this outer view. We called it post container. Just linking up to a class in CSS, or in WXSS, which we'll define right afterwards. And now class equals upvote container. This is going to be our column. Next, we got to put some pictures inside this upvote container. So I have a couple pictures of up arrow and down arrow, which I just copied, put it in this mini program / images folder that was created for you. Yeah, up arrow, down arrow, very basic stuff. And to show your image source equals / images / up arrow, png, down arrow, and our text in the middle, text. So data binding again, and later on we're going to define this votes field inside the post. So right now it's just content, but we'll add a votes as well. Let's see how that looks. Close the tags. Alright, so it's way too big, and of course there's actually no item.votes yet, which is why this is blank. That's okay, we'll put that in shortly. Option Shift F in Windows, or Alt Shift F in Windows to format. Yeah, you can tell I use Mac as well. First off, let's just make this kind of smaller. So arrow. And this will be the first thing we're defining in WXSS. So exciting stuff. And we're going to use, we're actually going to be using RPX as our unit. So what RPX is basically 750 RPX is the width of the screen, no matter what device you have. RPX is basically just percentage-based value. It's used for most things in mini programs. For fonts, most of the time you probably want PX, because if the screen is huge, you don't want the font. You don't want the font to be huge, but most other things you can probably use RPX. Okay. Now we need this upvote, or what did we call it? We called it, yeah, upvote container. Probably should call it votes container. Could be downvoted. It's okay. So we want to make this flex display. Oh, you can actually see that by default, this page already has some flex box in it, but this container we need to do it ourselves. Display flex, flex, direction, column. Alright, and then our post container. Okay, let's actually add some padding here. so it's not so cramped. That's good enough. Now for this final feature we're going to be developing, we're going to let people click this upvote or downvote. For simplicity, let's just let them be able to click it as many times as they want. So obviously, you'd be able to cheat the Reddit system by just upvoting yourself to the top, but besides the point. We're going to do that, and we're going to add a field to that post JSON that gets saved to our database, so that includes the votes, so that we can display it right over here. So, first of all, when we save a post, it's always going to start off as 0 votes, right? 0. And upload that. Now we got to create a function for incrementing that votes. Upvote. Probably done this enough by now, but I keep making typos anyways. Now we gotta hook it up. So index.wxml. So when they click this, bind tap equals upvoted. Now we need to know what the ID of this post is, right? So how do we do that? Well, we can actually just pass in the index. Pass in the index of the item in the array, and you do that just by doing index. Again, kind of like you did with item here. It's a hard-coded variable name. So for simplicity, you might think this is a bit hacky, but it's just the fastest way to do it. Just set the ID to the index. So the ID of the actual image element. Alright, so for clarity, I just cleared out our database again and created some new posts so that you can see the zeros that are saved. So now let's define our upvote function. Remember, our collection was called posts. Doc is to get the post by ID, and from the front end we passed in the ID. Then update. The data field we want to update is called votes, and how do we increment it? It's very simple. Just do db.command.inc, and then how much you want to increment it, which is 1. Now let's just return this when this is all finished. We can do this since it's an async function. Upload. Now let's define our upvoted function. So this is the thing that we call over here in bind tap. As usual, wx.cloud.call function, and we called this. Okay, I should have called this upvoted too, probably just for consistency, but we called it upvote. And then remember, in here we need this ID. So what's this ID? It's this automatically generated thing over here. So you can see it's actually from the actual JSON document, you access it as _ID. So like pretend we had like some doc, right? And then you do _ID. But we need to find a document for this post that the person clicked. So how do we do that? Well, previously we got all the posts because we need to display them all here, right? Inside on load, we called get post here, and we put in the post inside set data. So what set data does, not only does it let you access it via data binding in WXML, like we did over here, but you can now also use that posts variable inside your other functions that you're defining inside page. So you just do that by using this data.post because we named the post. And now we need to index it with this thing right here. So what do we click? We click that image. And we retrieve it using e.target and then .id because that's what we set the index with. Now, when it's successful, we just want to increment this number up. Obviously, this is not the best way to do it. You'd probably want to increment the number up right away just so it feels more responsive, but this is just a robust and simple way to do it. So take this, make that votes go up, and then we need to set data again, update the data binding. Test it out. Alright, I'm clicking it pretty fast. As you can see, it's a little bit slow. Again, the real Reddit experience, the number I think just goes up right away, but this is just a simple way to describe how to do it. Alright guys, so I just copied everything we did for upvote into downvote. One thing that I will mention is that you can pass in negative numbers into db.command.inc. So basically downvote is implemented the exact same way as upvote. Let's give it a whirl. Down. Yeah. Looking good, looking good. So that wraps it up for this tutorial, guys. We went over quite a lot of different things. You now know how to do the front end, the WXML, WXSS, and work with the JavaScript to do data binding and call your cloud functions. You now know how to define your cloud functions and access your database, your JSON database, and even manage your JSON database using this partially Chinese, partially English console. So if you like this kind of content, I'd love any suggestions about more things I should make in the future, or if you have any questions about WeChat development, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to help, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.